You hear what he said? It turned my colon into a semicolon. That's funny. Oh, while I'm talking, pass this around all through all of you and bring it back up to me. This is simulated fat. It's 1 pound of simulated fat. So if you're 1 pound over, 2 pounds over, 3 pounds over, this is what 1 pound is like of actual simulated fat. Just so you know, because remember, if you have any excess fat, poisons, toxins resides in it. If you have any excess mucus, same deal. So get a little feel for it, because hopefully it'll make an impression on you. Real simple. There was a question asked, how do you get rid of the excess fat out of your body? Well, number one is start eating fats that are easier to digest, metabolize, and utilize in your body. Make sure you digest it and break it down. But remember too, though, your carbohydrates turns to fat too if you don't properly digest it. It not only ferments, but it also turns to excess fat in your body. It stores in your body. So what do you do to rectify that? Well, did you all see the oatmeal demonstration? Did you see the enzymes breaking down the oatmeal and liquefying it? Well, when you eat food, you want to break down your food and micronize it to that level and pre-digest it in your stomach before it reaches the small intestinal tract, so you can absorb the nutrients and pass through the walls of the intestinal tract into the blood, into the cells. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you can pre-digest your food in your stomach, and when it goes into the small intestinal, and you can absorb it now and transport it into the cells through your bloodstream, by the time it goes through that coil inside you, called the intestinal tract, by the time it goes through all those many feet, by the time it gets down to the bottom end, you're going to have a soft, easy elimination. It's going to have form. It's going to semi-float or float, and it's going to be a very faint odor. And have you ever, in fact, I should talk about that for a second. Have you ever read this book called Everyone Poops? Now, not everyone does, though, and that's the sad part. But turn your. I know I didn't cover the fourth block yet, and I will. But turn your sheet over, and look at the bottom part of that sheet where it says love. Did you see that one? You all have it? No one else that doesn't have it, right? Okay. You see how it says love first? Well, it's my opinion, in my experience, that's the first thing I think we all need to do first. Before you can even acquire this knowledge or practice it, apply it, we need to fall in love first. Let's fall in love with life. Let's fall in love with ourselves. Let's fall in love with God. Remember we talked about that? That's number one. Without that, all this here doesn't matter. It's not going to happen anyway. You're not going to do it. Because if you hate yourself, and if you hate everybody else, you're not going to do all these other things anyway. So love is where we came from, and this is where we need to live, in that zone. So it can allow us to be able to do all these other things that allow us to fall in place and stay in balance, stay in harmony, right? The second one is air. To sustain life and to maintain life, air first, oxygen. Because remember, just a couple minutes without it, you're finished, kaput, done. And believe me, if there's anyone that wants to challenge me, please, I want to see the first person and go at least 2-3 minutes without air and see how long they last. Now, I went up to 4 minutes, and that was as far as I could go. But usually the average person, 1 minute, 2 minutes, max 3. I've never seen anybody do 4 minutes like I did, once I learned the breath and all that. And they're usually gone by that time. No, I'm not. And then water's next, because you see a few days without it, and you're finished. You dehydrate, and you're done. In fact, most people are running dehydrated. They don't even have enough water running through them, and so just with water by itself, I can help cure and overcome more diseases that you can think of just with water therapy, just by drinking it and doing detox baths and water therapy, hydrotherapy, colon therapy, all kinds of things. So water is really important. There's all kinds of therapies you can do with water. It's amazing what you can do with water, like an incredible solvent. And then enzymes next. Enzymes are like the life within your food, the life within you. Sometimes they call it a catalyst. You know, they make all kinds of things happen. Let me just give you just a quick blurb on enzymes. Let's say that you want to build a house, and you got a stack of 2x4s over here, and a stack of bricks and concrete and nails, your plumbing pipes and your wiring and all that. All the guys come in, you know, your little workers, they come in, your contracting guys, you know, the builders, they come in. One does the framing, one does puts the skin on, the other one puts the roofing on, the other one does the plumbing, electrical, you know, sheetrocking, put the bricks on, all that. Each one has their purpose, right? Well, imagine the builders, the workers, imagine them like the enzymes. See, the enzymes are the ones that do the work. The enzymes, like, there's an enzyme called protease that breaks down proteins to amino acids, which allow you to carry the minerals into the body, activate vitamins, produce enzymes and hormones. Protease does that. But guess what happens when you become protease enzyme deficient? If you don't break down your proteins to amino acids, the protein putrefies. So if it putrefies and it accumulates in your system, then you end up with viral, bacterial, yeast infections. You end up with acne. That's a form of infection. You end up with cancer, tumors, fibromyalgia, MS, endometriosis, which is a scar tissue buildup in the female organ. And so you end up with all kinds of weird stuff. You see, like that. What happens if you become amylase enzyme deficient? The amylase is the one that breaks down carbohydrates to glucose, simple sugars. What happens if you become enzyme deficient in that particular enzyme? That's the one that breaks down carbohydrates to glucose. What happens? The carbohydrates ferment, and then you end up with joint problems, respiratory problems, swelling problems, and then you start accumulating excess fat in your body just from that one thing. You say, what happens if you become lipase enzyme deficient? That's the enzyme that breaks down fats to fatty acids. What happens? You end up with neurological problems. You end up with cholesterol problems, triglyceride problems, just from lipase. Fat deposits. You end up with plaquing in the arteries, fat in the brain, fat in the liver, fat in different organs, all kinds of weird stuff like that. Cellulite. Has anybody heard of cellulite before? I had a lady, cellulite throughout her whole legs, real bad. They call them cottage cheese legs. And she had 15 years like that. She did what I said, 6 months, gone after 15 years. She didn't even wear shorts for 15 years. 6 months. She did what I said, 6 months, gone. Lady was 38. And she rips now. She's great, you know. Next one, nutrition. Nutrition, what I mean by nutrition is that's where your proteins, carbohydrates, fats, your herbals, your vitamins, minerals, you know, nutrition. But you got to have the first few there that we talked about to be able to digest, metabolize, utilize, and break down the nutrition, you know, your foods, to the levels they need to be broken down to so you can deliver them into the cells, feed the body on a cellular level, and then be able to do the next one, elimination. You must eliminate the waste out of your system. If you don't eliminate and things back up in your system, then you end up feeling like this. This is what happens to you. When everything backs up in your system, things get foggy and so on and so on, you end up going like that. You feel the pressure. Have you guys ever read the book called The Gas We Pass? It's the fart story. Yeah. I'm not going to go into the details, but I know every one of you have experienced it one time or another in your life, right? Because you. Yeah, I'll give you one example.
That'd be a big seller in Alberta.
You guys are great.
They got the technology now.
They got the technology. That's great. I love it. True story. True story. A friend of mine sent me the email on this one. It was a guy. He was about 300 some pounds overweight. He loved food. He didn't digest very well, as you can tell. But they had a big feast. He ate a bunch of ham, a bunch of beans, and potato salad, soda pop, and a lot of white bread, and different things. and a big pie for dessert, and he went to bed. He took a what they call a power nap. Remember? Yeah. And anyway, he fell asleep in a little room. The window happened to be closed. He closed the door behind him, and it was a small room. And he just kind of fell asleep on the bed. And he started having some putrefaction, fermentation, rancidification, and gas, bloating. And then he started expelling the gas out of his you-know-where. And then it started filling up in the air in the room. And true story. But wait, there's more. And then he was breathing his own gas in his sleep. So he couldn't tell about the odor or anything because he was asleep, you know. The thing is, he was in a dead sleep, so he was smelling his own, you know, just breathing his own gas, this methane gas, right? During the night, while he was sleeping, he actually passed out. In other words, he was already asleep, but he passed out further. In other words, he went unconscious to the point where he actually died in the process. Okay. The next day, when they called him, he didn't answer the phone. They came over. They sent the what do you call those guys that save people's lives? Paramedics. Yeah. They sent him over. 2 guys. As soon as they opened the door to come in to see how he's doing or what's going on, because he did have some health challenges, you know, and they were concerned about him. So they opened the door, and as soon as they opened the door to walk in, the gas was so strong that both guys that walked in to save his life or check him out, they passed out. And one of them was under intensive care just to bring him back. It was that strong. I tell you truly, if there had been somebody with a match and just lit up a cigarette or lit up a match or whatever, it probably would have exploded. Because I've heard of people that collect methane gas and compress it and run gasoline engines on it. So you know it has to be explosive, right? In fact, when we were kids in school, we used to eat things that would create gas inside of ourselves just so we could fart, and then we'd take a match and light up our own farts and come out with little, you know. So I know they're explosive, man. Yeah. In fact, one of the guys in my school, he was, you know, have you ever heard of those, what do they call those guys? They're kind of like real smart. They got real thick glasses. Yeah. Anyway, we were in PE, right? And he wanted to kind of become part of the team, you know. So, hey, I got one coming, he says. And he lays down and this was in PE. We're already dressed down and we're all, you know, no clothes on or anything. And he lays down and he says, I got one coming, guys. Give me a match. He wants to be part of the guys, you know. So we give him a match and he lays down. So we always did it through our pants, so we never got burned in the process, right? So he lays down and all of a sudden he goes ready to expel and he lights that sucker up on his own, you know, and the little flare goes out. The only problem is that he didn't have his clothes on, and all these little hairs down there burned up and it smelled everywhere else, and everybody, you know. But I tell you what, that flame, it was real. So the gas that we pass is flammable and dangerous, so be careful. Beyond elimination, I've told a few people that since I've been here, that I haven't really worked out for about 30 years since I got out of high school in 1970. But as far as exercise, if you could do just the deep breath and some simple movements, stretches, a little isometric kind of thing, you can maintain quite well. You don't have to exercise and work out just to have good strength. There's a martial art expert in this group that recognized that's true. Would you agree? Yeah. See. And
Probably yoga, all these forms of medicine, like yoga, probably the one that integrates mind, body, spirit.
mm-hmm. That's another one. That's another form.
There's a lot of elbow bends.
So my mentor teacher, I said he was one of the strongest and probably the strongest individual I have ever seen in my life. and I've been around 49 this year, but this month, but he was unusually strong, amazingly, and all he practiced was the breath and the stretching and isometrics. That was it. And this guy, I'll tell you, he picked up a rock, big rock, to take 4 guys to pick up, and I was amazed. Amazingly strong. And that's all he did. He didn't do weightlifting and a bunch of calisthenics. He did some real simple stuff, but it was amazing what he could do. And I demonstrated something for Brian, was it? Yeah, Brian. That was fairly impressive, right? Yeah, yeah. And he's an expert, Another thing, rest. Most of us don't take time to rest, but if you're going to rest, it is better if you can rest before 12 midnight. If you can do that, that's better, just because of the energy and how it all works. A lot of times people have a hard time sleeping at night and resting real sound and stable with solid rest. You know how they say sleep like a log kind of thing? Or sleep like a baby? A lot of people cannot do that anymore. They have what they call insomnia, or they real light sleepers. They can barely rest. Any little noise wakes them up and they can't go back to sleep. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that or know somebody like that. Yeah? Yeah. So rest is real important, but you know what? If you don't get your aminos, your protein aminos, you're not going to rest adequately. And so that's why all of it together is important, so you can rest when you go to take the time to rest. And then you'll notice the bottom one says, live with a passion. So whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you eat, whatever your passion or your purpose is in this life, do it with a passion. Do it with love. Do it with care. And live your passion, because most people don't. And most people hate what they do. They hate getting up. Or they have the attitude like, I got to get up, rather than I get to get up, So a lot of it has to do with attitude. Why don't we go to the fourth one called cell exercise? Because we kind of covered a little bit about that already, but we'll go a little further into it. You'll notice where it says, on the other side, where it says a healthy cell concept on top. Cell exercise is the fourth block. Slow, deep rhythmic breathing. It's one of those kind of things that I've just kind of learned to do normally, regularly, just wherever I go, whether I drive, fly, whether I'm in the shower, no matter where I'm at. If I'm quiet and I'm not talking, I'm doing the slow, deep rhythmic breathing as a rule. It's one of those kind of things I've just kind of acquired and developed a habit for. If you will do it, especially when you're in good air like this, compared to, when I'm in Southern California, like in LA area, I do shallow breathing. But when I'm up here, man, I'm ripping on it now, because I take advantage of the good air. You guys have pretty nice good air up here, so you have an advantage over most people in that sense, But how do you do slow? Let me give you an example. I had a guy, 450 pounds, many years like that. A couple things we did with him is, he was like that for years, and he had a tumor, he had a lot of other things going on, blood sugar problems, he had a lot of problems, And he was only 24. 24. He was about my height. I'm 169, he was 450. So, and we met, we talked. At that time I was 44 and he was 24. We met, we talked, and he says, Lou, I'll be lucky if I'm alive 10 years from now the way I'm going. And he was right, the way he was going. So we talked, we visited. I did that little oatmeal demonstration for him, and I spent some time with him, And I showed him this breath. He started doing it. Because you see, when you get oxygen running through you and get plenty of it, it starts helping you to digest, metabolize, and eliminate better. It actually helps to oxygenate you, detoxify you, and energize you. Can you believe that? Just by breathing deeper and slower, just slow, deep, rhythmic breathing can do that. And so he started doing that, and he did it. He just did it like 7 minutes twice a day. That's all he did. He just took a break in the morning and in the afternoon, and he would take 7 minutes, and then he started practicing during the day, like between his schedule or while he was working. He would try to breathe in slow and deep, just by practicing that one thing. That helped him a lot. His energy increased. He started feeling better. And when he would come home from work, a couch, TV. Have you ever heard of couch potato? That's what he was. And so what I did is I went to his house, and I showed him how to make a lemon ginger cayenne drink. It's a lemon ginger blast. Have you ever heard of that before? Sometimes they call it the master cleanser. But when you take lemon, ginger, and cayenne and water, blend it, strain it, and drink it. If you want to add a couple things to it, like MSM or enzymes or whatever, that's fine, But the lemon, ginger, cayenne. How much? Well, people generally start. Now, Diane had a little swig of it this morning, and she said it was a bit strong, a bit hot.
Exactly what I said.
Oh, is that an example? Oh, is that right? Did you say whoa, wow? What did you say?
4 letters.
Oh. Now, that one had 4 lemons, big stick of ginger, a lot of cayenne. So it was a hot one. But when you first start, it'd be better if you just did a half a lemon, a little piece of ginger, just a little tiny dash of cayenne, and more water, and then you blend it, strain it, and you start, and if you want to put a little bit of maple syrup with it, organic, certified organic maple syrup, that will soften it, make it a little easier to drink. Start off small and work your way up. Now, if you drank one of mine, like she took a little swig of, it's like rocket fuel. Would you agree? Yeah. Yeah. Do you, right now I'm kind of feel like I'm vibrating. Now you know why. I drank 2 big glasses of it, of that same stuff. But when you take lemon, ginger, cayenne and start off small and work your way up, generally I do a couple lemons, big stick of ginger, and some cayenne and some water. I usually throw some MSM and some enzymes in there, blend it up, strain it, drink it. And it usually comes out to about a quart by the time I get all done with it all. But when you drink that, it may not taste good, but what it does for you is this. It's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-mucus, anti-fat, anti-parasitic, anti-mucus. And it goes after all that. It cleans up the system. It basically oxygenates, detoxifies, and regenerates the cells. So when you do that, it also enhances the circulation, obviously. It also stimulates the digestive system. So anytime you can do that on a consistent basis, believe me, the parasites and all these other things cannot live in that environment. You'll never have to worry about getting cancer, diabetes, colds, flus, sickness of diseases of any kind, because it can't live with that drink. Cannot. The parasites run, the viruses, bacteria, all of it go away. The fat, all of it dissolves and goes away. You just can't handle it.
So if we make it through, then we're okay.
Excuse me?
That means if we can make it through, then we're okay.
That's right. It won't kill you, but it will kill the bad boys. You know what I'm saying? But you'll feel like it's killing you, but it's really the bad boys. It's really the bad stuff inside you that's retaliating. It's not you. It's the bad boys. So just remember that. So what you do is just back off on the strength of it. Just start off smaller amounts, make it weaker, and then just work your way up. If it's organic lemon, you just cut up in a couple pieces, throw it in the blender, and blend it up. Unless you have a juicer, and then run it through a juicer if you want. You can do it either way. And then if you do a blender, then strain it. If you use a juicer, you don't have to strain it because it strains it for you. But if it's not organic, then peel the skin off because it's got a lot of wax on the inorganic lemon. Peel the skin off and then cut it a couple times, throw it in the blender, or just run it through a juicer. Either way. Ginger, the average person takes a small piece of ginger, about a couple inches, and runs it through the juicer or cuts it a couple times, throws it in the blender, blends it, strains it, however. Now, when I do the ginger, I do a big piece. I love that ginger. In other countries, they use the ginger. In fact, I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone was telling me earlier that they use it in other countries because of the fact that it is not only energizes you, but also kills the bad boys. So it's one of those kind of things to think about. How much cayenne? When you first start, just do a little dash, you know. Just make it so there's a little bit of heat there, but not too much, because you don't want to do it so it burns you. Like when Diane took a little taste of it today, she said, you know, and said her 4-letter word, but it was definitely too hot for her, right? So what she would need to do, instead of doing dash, 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 she just does one little dash, just enough so there's a little heat when you first start, and then you judge according to what you can handle, because your taste will tell you, your body will tell you what you can handle, what you cannot handle. What you need to do is you need to listen to your own body. Don't do what I say. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't do what I do in that sense, because what I'm doing now, if you did what I do right now and live like I live, your body will go into detox, and you will get very sick, and you'll feel miserable for a while until you get rid of the parasites and the toxins and go through detox and all that. By the time you go through all that, you're going to be so miserable. You're going to say, "No, forget about it. This is not worth it." You see, you don't want to do that. See, when I did all this, I was desperate. I was dying. I had to do something, and I had to do it quick. So I went through the detox. I went through miserable experience through the whole process of it all. But I knew that if I could just get through it and pass through the pain and the suffering to get through it, I knew that I would come out swimming, you know, feeling okay. But I was willing to pay the price. I was willing to do whatever it took. I wanted to live. I wanted to be here, not only for myself, but for you, for every one of you, and millions of people out there. Because I knew that somehow I just had this knowingness that I would be able to bring change in people's lives. Somehow I just knew that. And I hope that so far in the little bit of talk that I've done so far, that something's happening inside you, and that there's some kind of inspiration or motivation or something happening inside you that's going to gravitate you and help you change and improve and enhance your lives and go further down the road for the good. Is it something happening at all yet at this point? Fantastic. The one I had today was the one, I think it was 180 or 190. No, I used Wes's, and he had the hot stuff. He had the good one, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, usually what I do use, though, is I usually have a source where I get the organic, you know, it's 190 BTUs or whatever you call it. It's the hottest, baddest cayenne. Sometimes I use habanero peppers, but be careful with habanero peppers. You guys know what habanero peppers are? There's those orange ones. They're orange, they're small, and they're dynamic. And you know what? If you're not careful, the first time I had habanero pepper, believe it or not, but I actually put one whole big habanero pepper in the blender and made some dressing with it. And I put it in my salad. I put it all in there and I mixed it all up. I took one bite and I nearly passed out. I mean, it was that hot. I mean, I don't know what kind of shock they call it, but I actually took a bite, I chewed it up, I swallowed, and I gagged. And I went into a shock, and I fell to my knees, and I was just about ready to suffocate and die. I thought I was going to die at that moment. I really did. It was amazing. Habanero peppers, man, I have incredible respect for the habanero peppers. Let me tell you. And I can handle hot stuff. I mean, I can handle things that most people cannot. And that habanero pepper got my goat, I'll tell you. I mean, it just about took me out. So I have incredible respect for this. So be careful with that one. The rebounder, if you're going to do some form of exercise, if you like to choose to do this is one of those kind of things that I did for several years when I was working on recovery and afterwards. Okay, is the rebounder. It's a little miniature trampoline, and it exercises every cell in your body. It's been documented, proven, and it will not only oxygenate you, but exercise every cell in your body. So if you will get on the rebounder, if your body will allow you, and if you're not injured or anything, if you can jump on that thing just like this, just like that, if you can do that 15 minutes once a day, it will totally revolutionize you. The man that was 450 pounds, he just did 10 minutes a day. He worked up to 10 minutes a day, and that's all he did. Next to taking enzymes with his meals, and enzymes between his meals a couple times a day, and doing the lemon ginger blast in the morning, and doing his breath. And he did the protein drink. The protein drink is something I haven't talked about just yet, and maybe you might want to know about it. But If Wes wants to, and if you all want to, when I ask for a raise of hands, whoever wants to be a part of a workshop where I can show explicitly how to do things a little bit more explicitly, then we'll talk about that. The next thing is, so you either do 15 minutes once a day, break it up if you want, of the slow, deep breathing. I like to encourage that you just do it, no matter what. But the rebounding thing, or the swimming, like if you swim 15 minutes once a day, or you do the rebounder once a day, either one or the other, or the or you do power yoga once a day. Do you know what power yoga is, or you do? I'll just give you a couple positions, and then you can, if you can do it, then do it, because I only do 2 minutes a day, and that's it. Power yoga, sometimes that's what they call it. But I do a few stretches. If you want to see them, I'll show them just a couple seconds, and you know. And then the other one is the brisk walking. Yeah, it just 15 minutes brisk walking. In other words, you're walking pretty briskly and doing some breathing with it, and it'll do some enormous, wonderful things for you. I know I have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to just show you a couple movements. And if you want to gravitate to them, fine, you can try to do that. And then I'd like to open up for questions and answers, if that's all right. This is. Remember, I told you, having worked out for 30 years. When I say that, I mean like doing calisthenics and weightlifting and running 5 miles a day or whatever, like I used to a long time ago. This is just one position here. Some of you might have to stand, unless I do it up here, maybe. I don't know. So.